court with Him. You do not want to go into that final day of conflict with Christ, for He will be ruthless in the execution of His justice. But He offers you mercy today. He will agree to terms of surrender. He will agree to terms of peace, but they are His terms of peace, not ours. And His terms of peace are very simply this: you must hate your own father and mother and brother and sister and even your own life more than me, or you cannot be my disciple, and you must take up a cross and follow me, or you cannot be my disciple. And if you do not, you will meet me in the final judgment, and it will glorify God in your destruction.
The church in America is going to suffer so terribly. And we laugh now, but they will come after us. They will come after our children. They will close the net around us while we are playing soccer mom and soccer dad, while we are arguing over so many little things and mesmerized by so many trinkets. The net even now is closing around you and your children and your grandchildren, and it does not cause you to fear. You will be isolated from society, as has already happened. Anyone who tries to run for office who actually believes the Bible will be considered a lunatic until finally we are silenced. We will be called things that we're not and persecuted not for being followers of Christ, but for being radical fundamentalists who do not know the true way of Christ, which of course is love and tolerance. You'll go down as the greatest bigots and haters of mankind in history. They've already come after your children, and for most of you, they got them. They got them through the public schools and indoctrination, and the university and indoctrination, and then you wonder why your children come out not serving the Lord. It's because you fed them right into the devil's mouth. So little by little, the net is closing around, and then it's not little by little. Look how fast things are going downhill just in a matter of weeks. Matter of weeks. But at the same time, know this: persecution is always meant for evil, but God always means it for good. And is it not better to suffer in this life, to have an extra weight of glory in heaven?
Character in human history that will make Hitler and Stalin pale in comparison.
He is at the crux of an apocalyptic vision of salvation and slaughter that millions of people share.
40 or 50% of Americans say they believe in key elements of the end-time scenario, which includes the rise of the Antichrist.
He is the central figure in the world's most popular doomsday prophecy, and some say they know his profile.
Die einzige Macht und alleinige Macht in Deutschland.
Reportedly, de Roegman said of Hitler that some people believe, from having experienced in his presence a feeling of horror and an impression of supernatural power.
If you're looking for the Antichrist, you look for somebody who's very attractive, very articulate, brilliant, someone who would know many languages.
Above all, he represents a paradox. The Antichrist is pure evil, but true believers look for his coming with anticipation.
The Antichrist is going to be an agent of destruction, of death, of worldwide catastrophe. And yet, in the apocalyptic communities, nothing is more looked forward to with jubilation and expectation than the emergence of this Antichrist.
Whether fact or fiction, his role is clear. The Antichrist is Satan's human emissary on earth. And some say signs of his work and presence are all around us.
I believe that the Antichrist is very much alive right now in Europe somewhere.
As you look at the Bible and you look at the news, it goes hand in hand. And to me, it's absolutely amazing.
ready or not, here he comes. But who is he? The Antichrist or a mass delusion? The end of the world. For many of us, it's overwhelming. Something we hope is far off on the horizon, beyond the scope of our lives. For others, the end may be more concrete. A growing fear that a catastrophic event, perhaps a nuclear war, will make the planet uninhabitable. But there is another group of tens of millions of Americans for whom signs of the Antichrist and the end of time are welcome. That's because they indicate the second coming of their God.
Later, Jesus sat on the slopes of the Mount of Olives. His disciples came to him privately and asked,
"When will all this take place? And will there be any sign ahead of time to signal your return and the end of the world?"
Jesus told them, "Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name saying, 'I am the Messiah.' They will lead many astray, and wars will break out near and far, but don't panic. Yes, these things must come, but the end won't follow immediately. The nations and kingdoms will proclaim war against each other, and there will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. But all this will be only the beginning of the horrors to come. Then you will be arrested, persecuted, and killed. You will be hated all over the world because of your allegiance to me. And many will turn away from me and betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and will lead many people astray. Sin will be rampant everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. But those who endure to the end will be saved. Then if anyone tells you, 'Look, here is the Messiah,' or 'There he is,' don't pay any attention, for false messiahs and false prophets will rise up and perform great miraculous signs and wonders so as to deceive, if possible, even God's chosen ones. See, I have warned you. So if someone tells you, 'Look, the Messiah is out in the desert,' don't bother to go and look. Or, 'Look, he is hiding here,' don't believe it. For as the lightning lights up the entire sky, so it will be when the Son of Man comes. Just as the gathering of vultures shows there is a carcass nearby, so these signs indicate that the end is near. Immediately after those horrible days end, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. And then at last, the sign of the coming of the Son of Man will appear in the heavens, and there will be deep mourning among all the nations of the earth, and they will see the Son of Man arrive on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send forth his angels with the sound of a mighty trumpet blast, and they will gather together his chosen ones from the farthest ends of the earth and heaven."
There will be a 7-year period that culminates in unspeakable suffering, which will be dominated by Christ's evil opponent, the Antichrist.
Starting in the 1830s all the way up to the present time, there's been a rather consistent teaching about the Antichrist. They believe that this would be a personification of evil, a kind of Messiah of Satan, who would gain power at the end of the present historical age.
He's unifying the world. There'll be sort of a one-world government and a one-world currency and a one-world religion.
And God would then pour out horrible judgments on the earth against Antichrist, against his followers, and millions upon millions would be destroyed. There would be attempts to destroy Israel. The Battle of Armageddon would be an attempt.
There's imagery there of the Valley of Megiddo filling to the height of a horse's bridle with blood for thousands of square miles.
How close are we to this horrific vision of butchery and justice? Too close for comfort, according to those who believe the end is near.
It just seems like we're hurtling headlong towards something.
Are we closer to the end than any of us really thought?
But before all this occurs, there will be a time of great persecution. You will be dragged into synagogues and prisons, and you will be accused before kings and governors of being my followers. This will be your opportunity to tell them about me. And there will be strange events in the skies, signs in the sun,